code changes. And basically what we're going to do is talk a little bit about some of the AOS changes that have come out in the last couple of years and how we can actually help you get these changes in your accounting structure. There's some changes that were actually should have been done in 25. Some of the codings changes in 25. So if you were using those codes in fiscal year 26, they're going to show up on your invalid invalid account listing. There's some ways that we can go ahead and just put stop dates on those, and some that we can actually need to have change. So we're going to go and get into the weeds, as somebody else would always say, and get this changed and show you hopefully some good information that you can take back and get some of these things changes and have a better understanding of what's going on with this. We're also going to show you the brand new fund change, where we've been waiting to be able to change actual whole entire funds and not just accounts with the fund change option. So on our website, we do record these sessions, and this session is going to be put on our YouTube page. So if you go to member resources and fiscal services and links and documents, down here about halfway down is training videos, and this is the YouTube service channel that we have. So once this recording has been changed or added, it will be put up on this page for you to view and to look at later. One thing I do want to say about this, and this just came out yesterday, and hopefully I have everybody's attention on this because this came out, and we always say timing is everything, but the SSDT has found a problem with the account change program, and they're asking us right now to not use the account change at this time until a hot fix is coming out. We're hoping the hot fix would come out yesterday. We haven't seen it yet, so hopefully it will be processed today. The problem is when you do an account change, and if there's any future fiscal year to date transactions that exist in your system, it wasn't changing the future information correctly. If you used account change in the last few days or even last week or so, and you don't have any future data, any future POs or future requisitions or anything that have been in the system already, then you don't have anything to worry about. However, if you do have account change in fiscal year 26 and the accounts of existing fiscal year 27 transactions posted against them, there's also going to be a hot fix to get those corrected. So if you're in that situation, let us know, and we'll put you on a list to run the hot fixes. Actually, I don't know if the SSDT might just say, put this out there and install it for everybody. So we'll see what they have to say when they get the hot fix and when it comes out. Okay. So basically, we're going to talk about the difference between the two here, expenditures and revenue account change versus cash account change. Okay, so what's the difference there? Well, the expenditure and the revenue accounts has that option is when you need to change an account with the same fund. So you're going from general fund to another general fund account. If you have a cash account that you want to change, and let's take, for example, all those 400 and 500 funds that are going away, and if you need to change them to a different fund number, then that would be a account change using the cash account option. And the cash account option basically changes everything that's in that cash account. It will change all the underlying accounts and everything with one option, one change. When you use the account change, it's going to change everything in that account. It's going to change encumbrances. initial budget, anticipated revenue, all GAAP initial amounts, all related transactions will be updated to the new account. It's going to change everything in the current fiscal year. So if you've used that account for years and you want it changed to another type of account, anything prior to this current fiscal year will not be touched. So all your balances and everything will be correct in the prior fiscal years. Okay. The standard account change is, like I said, it's going to utilize the old account and it's going to show them under a new account. So basically, when we go under here, and I'm going to go into more detail on this in just a little bit, but under utilities, there is an account change feature here. And we have a listing here, but it's just to show you an example. You have a from account and a to account. So this from account is a expenditure account, and we're changing the function. So this account that is in the from is going to be changed to this new account where it's going to. Now the to account, whatever you're going to be changing it to, must be on file. Okay, it has to be in your accounting structure somewhere. So you can do two different ways of getting your accounts here. You can add the new expenditure account just from this screen if you want to, or if we go into a core and accounts, and we're going to go to our expenditures, and we can create the new account here. Either way is fine, whichever you want to do, but you have to make sure that both of your accounts, the to and the from, are going to be there. You can also do a mass load. If you had a lot of accounts that you need to be changed, you can do a mass load. There's also an import option on the account change. So we can actually import accounts that would go right to this grid from a CSV file. I'm not going to touch too much on the import option. If you want to use that, if you have a lot of accounts that you're changing, you can enter a ticket and we'll help you get that CSV file created for you. When you're doing an account change, you cannot cross funds or fiscal years or special costs. They all have to be in the same fund and function, or fund and special cost. If you're crossing appropriations, for example, on this account that I have here, that I'm going from a function 2225 to 2187, that is crossing appropriations. Crossing appropriations is fine. You're going to get a warning. However, it will still process. And also, if that new appropriation is not on file already, it will create it for you. Okay. Some examples of what you would use the account change option for. If you want to add some kind of significance to the accounting structure, such as if you're going to add an OPU to it, or you're going to add a subject code to an existing account, you can use account change to do that. Or if you want to reduce it, if you want to remove an account OPU or a subject code or something like that, you can do that. If you want to correct accounting code for something that you've posted against it already. So let's take, for example, and we've had a lot of cases like this, that the auditors have changed their accounting structure, and it's starting in fiscal year 26, these accounts are invalid. Okay, so in fiscal year 26, you should not be using them. However, let's say you went ahead and used them and you posted transactions to that account for 26. That's an example of why you would want to use account change to move that to the current new account. And you would want to use account change. A lot of people think, well, I'm going to go ahead and put a stop date on that account, and any transactions that I've had posted to that account, I'm going to do correcting entries for those to move those transactions out of that account. That basically is not going to get your accounts off of the invalid account listing, because there's still transactions that are posted to that account. Even though it shows zero amount expended, you're still going to have those transactions in the background that are still going to be tied to that account that should not have been used. So in that specific case, then you want to use the account change program to change all the transactions from the new or the bad account to the correct new account. Okay. A little bit about the cash account change. You can provide the ability to change the fund or special cost associated with those to a new fund and special cost. And like I mentioned before, everything that's underlying on those accounts will be changed. It will change all the revenue account, all the budget accounts. Everything will basically be changed for that. Another thing is also when you're using the fund change, the new fund cannot be on file. When you're using the account change, the old and new accounts need to be there. When you're using fund change, the new fund cannot be added to the system already. Okay. When we're talking about fund change, one of the things that you need to keep in mind is when we're looking at cash accounts, those are what we're talking about as far as changing fund cash accounts. So it basically has to be, the special cost has to be all zeros or starts with nines. Some of you might have accounts in your general fund, let's say, that have a special cost of 1,000 or 2,000 or something that's less than 9,000. Those are part of the general fund. Those are not specific special cost centers to your accounting structures. So when you're using the account change for the cash accounts, they have to be either all zeros or start with 9 for special cost centers. An example would be a special cost of, let's say you have a fund of 5,000. And you want to change, and that is actually part of 0010000. So you cannot be changing that at the, with the cash account. Okay.
Sharon?
Yes.
We do have a question in the chat asking, what's the best way to identify any invalid accounts we may have?
Okay, that is a great question. And I will be going over that in just a few minutes, because that's going to be the next section that I was going to ask or to go over.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. So let me go back to my notes here, just make sure I'm in the right place here. Okay, so if you are trying to change accounts, a fund change, and the new fund already exists, then that is going to be a situation where you're just going to have to put stop dates on the old and then transfer everything to the new as far as a fund-to-fund transfer and get the money out of the old into the new. Okay. And then people ask here too, is like, okay, when do I want to use account change versus just putting start and stop dates on accounts? Okay, so the situation is, if you have history posted to the account, then if that history needs to be moved to a new account, you want to use account change. If it's something that you don't care and you can leave that history there and it's in the old account and you're just going to start using a new account as of X time frame, then you can put start and stop dates. And that's basically going to be kind of dictated by the auditor's office, because they're going to say you've got to stop using this account as of this date. If you've used that account past that date, then you can actually know then it will have to be an account change. So just keep in mind, okay, is there history here? Is there transactions that I posted to this account? in this fiscal year and I should not have been, then yes, I need to use account change. Okay. All right, so basically, some of the AOS changes and how they are going to impact your accounts. Okay, they've come out with a lot of changes in fiscal year 26, and they're coming out with more changes for fiscal year 27 and also prior for fiscal year 25. If you have an account, like I had mentioned before, that the auditors are saying this is not going to be used after June 30th of 2025, and you've used it, then we've got to do some account changing and things like that. If it's an account, let's say that you have, and the auditors are saying as of June 30th of 26, you are no longer going to be able to use that, you can go ahead now and put an account stop date on that account of June 30th of 26, and then you won't be able to use it in fiscal year 27. Okay, some of the account changes that I want to go over and show you here. On the auditor's website, we have a document. I just went down there to resources and publication and manuals. And then I went down to 2026 Uniform School Accounting System Manual. Okay. When I bring that up, oops. Then it's going to show me the user manual and the accounting structure from the auditor's office. Sometimes it's kind of hard to figure out how this document is put in and how you should read it. So I just wanted to go over a couple of things here before we actually get into looking at some of our accounts. Right here in the description of the accounting, it kind of tells you how each of those levels and what you want to look for in this manual and how you can read it. So basically it's saying here, if the account code has an asterisk by it, then that level of code can be used. If it's in red font, then that means no, you can't use that account. It has to have more function, more dimensions to the account. Okay, so if I look at here, oops, let's go over here. If I search for code 1000 here, function 1000. So I'm going to look at these functions here. You see 1000 is in red. So I cannot create an account that has a function code of 1000. It has to be broken down further. So here's an asterisk under 1100. So I could use 1100 if I wanted to. Okay. The other thing is here, if I wanted to break down 1100 further under these categories, then I can. That is totally up to the district and how you want to keep track of your transactions and things. But just remember, when you have a new account and you go to this documentation to try and see, okay, how am I going to create this account? And how am I going to come up with what needs to be done? Everything that's in red, you can't use. You have to go to a further dimension down in this list. And even under the 1200, if I go down here a little bit, 1250, you can't use 1250. You have to do 1251, 52, or 59. Okay. Some of the other things that are actually in this document too is in the appendix. If I go down to appendix A, oh, I don't want to do that. I'm going to go here. Sorry for the scrolling here. Okay, here we go. So in Appendix A, they've actually added this information that all the account changes for May of 2026 updates are being posted to this document. Okay, I'm not going to go over every single one, but there's a few in here that I want to point out to. And this one here is one that we have had a few questions on, and it basically has to do with special cost centers and special cost centers that are now predefined by the auditor's office. And by predefined, what they mean is auditor's office has a set of special cost centers that they have been given by the Ohio Department of Education to set aside for their use only. Normally, special cost centers aren't restricted. You can use any 9,000 numbers. You can have A, B, C, D, or E, anything in that special cost in the 4 positions that you want to. And you could have used this up to this point. However, now the auditor's office has a predefined set of special cost centers that they have to use, or they want you to use. And they're actually, you have to have the state auditor's office is the one that says you have to use this to create it. So it's $9,000, 9,000 special cost center in the first digit and X, Y, or Z at the end. So if you are currently using X, Y, or Z as the 4th position in your special cost, and it's not for any of these specific things, then those are situations where you need to do fund change. Not fund change, account change for the cash account. Fund change is what it used to be called in Classic. So I might slip there a little bit. All right. So if you have any of these special costs, and these are pertaining to general fund. So you would have an 001, 9,000X, 9,000Y, or 9,000Z, then you need to change these with the account change cash option. Okay. Here is a list of actual funds that are being retired. So these need to be changed if you're using any of these funds currently, if you have current transactions in them, or if you're going to be using them in the future. If you thought you're going to be using them in the future, then you need to get these changed also. Okay. There's a couple of other things here that I wanted to mention. Let me find it here, down here. On your cash account, it has, you mark the cash account, how it is, what type of a cash account it is. So 200 school activity funds were special governmental special revenue now. They used to be an agency fund. Now they've been changed to special revenue fund. So if we go back to our accounts and we pull up, I don't know if I have a 200. Okay, so if we pull up a 200 account in your cash account, you'll say, look right here where it says special revenue. Well, it was previously agency there. So that would need to be changed if it was already as not a special revenue account. The Pell grants, 007 and 008 also had some minor changes there as well. Okay. Sure, I'm going over all my notes. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead. Do we have anything in chat right now before we go into the actual accounts that hasn't been addressed by the team?
I think the only thing that hasn't been addressed, Sharon, is the last question from Meg Patton. And yep, looks like we are on it. So unless something has been missed, I think we're good to continue forward.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. So, one of the things that I did want to mention, when you're going into this, when looking at accounts on the checklist, we have you run the account validation account validation report. So that's basically one way that you can actually see if it's, if you have any invalid accounts. Another way you can see if there's invalid accounts, if you go to your current accounts and go to expenditures, there's a few things that you can add to this grid. And account valid right here will tell you if it's valid or not according to the SSDT's rules. And it will basically tell you if it's true or false, if it's a valid account. So this is one way that you can look at it. So if I say my account valid, I'm going to say it's false, then it will give me a list of all invalid accounts. Okay. Now, even though it's the valid account says false, that doesn't mean that you have to change it. You may already have a start or a stop date listed. Let's a little bit. You may already have a stop date on that account, so it's already been stopped and you're not using it. So even though it's invalid, then it can be stopped and you're not using it, so that's fine. In that situation, I would go and make the account inactive, okay, to get it off of your list. But here's a list of all the accounts that I have that are inactive, or excuse me, invalid. Okay, so I can also say if this is true, so it's only going to show me invalid accounts that are active. And then I can also run this is running really slow. I can also put another filter on here in the advanced query. Goodness gracious, running a little slow here. Okay, there we go. So then if we go to the advanced query, and one of the things that I can put in here, let's look at the date range. And if I can say stop date, and I'm going to double click on that and say is null, which means it's empty. Okay, so if I apply that, then it will show me that any accounts that are invalid, active, and don't have a stop date. Okay, so these are just different ways that you can run these, find out where your invalid accounts are, but you can also just run an account validation report to see these as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the actual account change. Okay, so the account change program, how would you use it? How would you get started on here? So basically it's under the utilities and you go to the account change. And remember that anything that's on here will show if it's running, if it's pending, if it hasn't been processed. We're in test files here, so I'm going to go ahead and show you a couple examples and things. However, we can't apply it or run it because we don't have document storage on here, so it's going to bomb out and it's not going to complete. One of the things you want to watch out for here when you're on this grid, when you come in here, you want to make sure that nothing is running. You can't have two account change processes running at the same time. Okay. you can go to the progress tab here, and it will also show you anything that's been completed. If it hasn't been completed, if it's running and things like that, it will be displayed on the progress tab. So if I have an account that I want to change just an object to, okay, the new account needs to be on in the system. So if you go over here to create, and we try to create it and it's not there, then we're going to have to get out of there. So what I would do first is either go to your account grid and add the new account, or you can add it here. And I am just going to add it here. And I'm going to do an 001 1110, and I'm going to change it to 520, have a 521. Okay. Now, another thing about this, and this is true with your accounts also, whenever you add an account, if you leave the description blank, the AOS default description is going to be pulled in, and that thing can be huge. Okay, because it's going to put a description of the fund, the function, and the object in here all at once. If that's fine for you right now, you can go ahead and do that and then come in later and change descriptions if you wanted to, or you can change it and put a description in here now. If this is something that you want to use in the future, then you can put a start date in here and say, okay, I want to use this starting July 1 of 2026. You can put a start date in there. If not, I'm just going to leave everything blank and just save this, and it's going to create my account. So now I have that account added in my account structure. Now, if it was an account that didn't have an appropriation tied to it yet, if it was a brand new appropriation as well, then the system will automatically create the appropriation account for you as well. So now once I have the account there, I'm going to click on create, and I'm changing the expenditure account. We're going to go into each one of these options here in just a minute, but I'm going to change the expenditure account, and it's for fiscal year 26. So when I'm doing this, any transactions that I've posted in fiscal year 26 are going to be moved to this new account. And the old account is going to have a stop date on it. So the old account is basically going to be invalid and not being able to be used with that stop date. Okay. When you search for your accounts, it's the same as doing requisitions or purchase orders or anything else. You put the dashes in here. And I am going to be changing this 524. And then I'm going to change it to the new account that I just added, to 521. Okay. So then once I have the to and from in here, I can click on save, and then it's going to add it to my grid. You can go ahead and do this and add a whole bunch of revenue accounts, budget accounts, expenditure accounts, excuse me, all to this grid all at one time. And then you can go ahead and click on here and say, okay, process them all, apply them all at this time. Or you can pick and choose. It's like, okay, this one here, I want to go ahead and do it now. So I would go ahead and click on apply. I'm not going to do that, like I said, because these top files aren't. But once I do that, then it's going to show in here and show it's pending. You can see these other two are showing pending because I did try to apply those and they bombed out. So anything marked as new here is something that hasn't been processed yet, that just in this grid, the old accounts are still out there. So then you can go ahead and process them all at one time. Okay. If I want to do another one, okay, so I'm going to create another expenditure account, and this time I'm going to change some function code. Okay, so I have 001 2187 411. Okay, so this is an error message saying that this account is already been on file. Okay, so I think that's one I tried to change or mess with before. So this is already on file, so I don't have to create the new account. So now I'm going to create this one here, and I'm going to look for 001 21, 28, 411. Okay, so I'm going to change that to my new account, and I wanted to cross appropriations here so you can see what's going to happen. This isn't crossing appropriations. I think I wrote down the wrong one. Okay, but anyways, I'm going ahead and save this. And so now I have two new here. So then if I wanted to do them all at once, I can click on apply. If you were crossing appropriations at that point, by changing either the object or the function to a new appropriation, then it would give you a warning saying the appropriations accounts aren't on file. Once you apply this and process it, it would go ahead and create that appropriation. Okay, so now the next one I'm going to do is a revenue account. So I'm going to create the new revenue account, and we're going to do 1821, and I'm going to save this. So now I'm going to change this to revenue, and my old revenue account is 1820, and my new revenue account is going to be 1821. And then I'm going to go ahead and save it. So now I have a revenue account. Now I can apply all of these at one time. You don't have to do anything with, do your budgets first and then do revenue. You can do them all at the same time. Okay. So go back to my notes here, make sure I touched on everything. Okay. So let's talk a couple minutes here on the collapsing and merging option. One of these accounts I already had, but I think it was this one down here. The account was already on file. Okay, so let's say you have one expense account that has transaction in it for this year, and you have another expense account that has transactions. So you have posted transactions in both, but you want to merge those two accounts together. Okay, so you basically can do that with the account change, even though it's assuming that you're moving old to a brand new account. You can use this to move old transactions to a new account that's already on file. It doesn't show you anything on here. It doesn't say that it's going to merge them, but because this account here, when I went to it, it says that account was already on file. You see that it still allowed me to say I'm moving from this account to this account. So I'm actually merging the two together because I did not create it a brand new account. Okay, does that make sense to everybody that you can use it to merge also? Okay, so that is the actual account change for budgets and revenue accounts. Now we're going to go ahead and do a cash account. And remember, I had said something about the cash account. The new cash account cannot be on file. Okay, so if it doesn't have the ability to actually do a merge, but you want to make sure that you say this cash account. And again, it's going to tell you everything in that new cash account. It's going to create the new cash account and any accounts that are underlining any revenue, budgets, and appropriations. It's not going to have the ability to merge into a single account. And it also says that this could take up to 45 minutes to run. So you want to make sure that if you're doing this, you might want to schedule it or process it at the end of the day. Okay, so I'm going to do a change here, and I'm going to change this account, and the new fund then is going to be a 505. And I'm just selecting any of these. I know that some of these might not make sense, but I'm just going to change them. You have the ability here to exclude inactive underlying accounts with no activity. So if you did this, it's going to keep those aligned to this old account and not create them to the new account. And that's up to you if you want to do that or not. You can also schedule this job, like I had mentioned before, because it might run longer and it might take a long time to process. You can schedule this job. It's like, okay, I'm going to schedule it tonight for 10 p.m. Oops. Okay, so I can go ahead and schedule this. One thing that I want to mention about scheduling is you need to be mindful of the backup process. Our backups run starting at 11 o'clock at night, depending on the region. They run from anywhere from 10 o'clock till probably 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. So schedule these if you're going to schedule them. If you don't want to process them right now, schedule them in the future, but sometime before 9 o'clock or after 5 o'clock in the morning. Okay. One of the other things I wanted to mention about the account change program, either the fund change or the account change program, is when the account changes is processing, those both to and from accounts are inactive for anybody to post to. So if you're running an account change or a cash account change in the middle of the day, and somebody might be out there trying to post a PO or something or a receipt to those accounts, they're going to get errors and they're not going to be able to do it, which is a safeguard from the SSDT so they aren't posting things in the middle of a change. All right, so that's a good thing, and we don't want anybody posting anything at that time. So I'm going to go ahead and save this here. Okay, so it's telling me my account code didn't previously exist. It's going to be created for me, and that's what I want it to do. Okay, so now it's been scheduled, and it's going to change 19 accounts for me. Okay, and as you see, even though I did a cash change, it put all the budget and revenue expenditure accounts here that's going to change. Okay, so it will list them all for you. All right, so then once this is scheduled, it's going to go ahead and run. Okay, are there any questions on the cash change piece? This is the new piece that just came out by the SSDT. We can also go to the wiki and pull up the documentation for the account change. And if I'm going to create account change, okay, we went over this information here, then it's going to show you the information here while in the pending status. Did I change that to pending? Yes, it did. So it's basically in the pending status on the 2 accounts, and then it's going to run later because I did the schedule. Okay. But there's some information in the documentation that you can look at on how to use that. Okay. Are we good on the chats here?
Sharon, I do have an update. We had a question from a user earlier. They were concerned how account change was going to impact USPS. So when you get to the part of the your training this morning that we have time to address that, let me know. I did send something to SSDT and did hear back from them. So I can just share that whenever you are ready.
Well, and that's what I was going to go over next, is how this affects your USPS accounts.
Sweet.
So basically, there's a job that runs nightly in everybody's payroll system, and it is what we call an account sync. So your payroll accounts and your USPS accounts have to sync together, and so for you to be able to use anything in payroll. That job runs nightly, I think actually like 4 o'clock in the morning or something like that. So it does run. So any account changes that you do during the day will take effect the next night or that night and be in payroll the next day. Now, if you want to do them immediately, we can go to our payroll instance here. And under the USAS integration, there's an account synchronization here. And if I click on that, and I can say that it's going to, even though it comes up and says it's completed, I always click the button anyways. It's not gonna do anything if you do that, but it's gonna sync those accounts together. So if you have already made these changes during the day and you want them affected in payroll right away, you just can go into payroll and sync those accounts, and then they will be those new accounts will show up. Another thing you can do in payroll to see if it's actually there is you can go to account USAS integration and go under expenditure accounts. This is one place where we go a lot when people say, hey, my board distribution account's not working, or I'm getting errors saying this account's not out there. So if I had a function here that I changed, let's see what's one new one that I changed. This isn't going to affect, but I can put in the new function here, and then it will show you the actual accounts that it's synced with, and it sees in USAS. So you can actually go in here and see if it's synced up. So if you made these account changes yesterday, you can go into payroll and say, okay, these new accounts should be in payroll now. Let me see if they are. And so then you can go ahead and see if they are. And if they are, they can't. If or not, then you can do the account sync if they're not there. Okay. So does that answer the questions?
It definitely answers a huge portion of it. Just keeping in mind that if you're making changes to like benefit accounts, you still are going to need to go into USPS and address your payroll item configurations for your object codes if those have been changed, because they'll still see the old object code. So account change will take care of what, 95%, right? We use the 95/5 rule. So you are going to need to go into your payroll item configuration, change those object codes on any board paid stuff, and you may need to address your mapping in USPS. And this is per the SSDT.
Okay, thank you. And also another thing is if that payroll is already posted and you're doing your board distribution reports, and then you make those changes to those accounts after that payroll is posted, they won't affect your board distribution. So you're still going to get posting to the old accounts. And so then you might get some errors. And then that's when you're going to have to go into mapping and map those old to new. Now that's only going to affect those benefit accounts that you have posted in the last payroll that you're doing your board distribution to. If we're talking about prior accounts and things like that, you don't have to worry about anything like that, or future. It's just the ones that say, okay, your payroll person posted that payroll today, and you went in and you made modifications to benefit accounts today, then those changes are not going to be seen in the board distribution reports. Okay. Okay, so any other questions on the account change or fund change? Okay, so the next piece that I wanted to just go about, remind people about and go over just a little bit is a couple of features that are out here in your account and your account grid, and that's the mass change or mass add, and also the clone. People are starting to work on budgets at this time. And before you do your scenarios, they have to be your account, the new accounts and new funds have to be added to your account structure before you can add them to your next year's proposed amounts. So if you have specific accounts, and this is pick and choose accounts, and you want them to be basically what we call clone, you can use this clone. So let's say if I wanted to take everything in this account and let's just change the object, or add a special cost of 1,000, or add an OPU or something like that, but it's not something that falls under an account change, because I still want to use this account, but I want to add a new account and just make some changes, then you can do a clone. And then let's say I want to change this and add an OPU to it. Okay, so now that accounts can change. So that's basically how the clone works. I can put a different description in here if I want, but it's basically just cloning one specific account to the next. You can do that with expenditure accounts and revenue accounts. But the other thing I think is really cool is the mass add on your cash accounts, because you have a lot of special funds that are specific to a fiscal year. And so let's say this fiscal year we have a fund coming up. Let's see if we've got, of course. Now, of course, this isn't going to make sense because why isn't any cash accounts showing up? Okay, there we go. Because I don't have a 500. Okay, so let's take, for example, some of these older funds here. We've got 12, 13, and 14. And let's say we're using this fund for the next fiscal year too. So if I look at that cash account, there is a mass add. So I can go ahead and click on mass add and add a new special cost. And what this is going to do, it doesn't only change the cash account, but any underlying revenue, budget, appropriation accounts, it's also going to create for me. So that's a good way of creating all these accounts. Okay, so I got an error here because I have a revenue account that's invalid as of July 1 of 25. So, July 1, 2025. So it did not create that revenue account for me. So I would have to go in and put in my own revenue account. But it will tell you all the accounts that were created. And so now I have that new account in here. Actually, I think it didn't do that because of that revenue account. So I would have to go and address that revenue account first, and then I can go ahead and do the mass add for that fund. Okay, but then everything is in here. It's all blank. Everything, your account structure is there. So now you can pull them into your scenarios and do next year's proposed amounts for them. One other thing is to, when you're adding accounts, if it has anything to do with AOS changes that are starting July 1. Okay, let's say you're using a new account and you're doing next year's proposed amounts. When you add that new account, even though you're not allowed, you're not using it till July 1, you can still add it now for your next year's proposed. However, the SSDT has put in a little sail face thing here too, that it's going to put a start date of July 1 of 2026 on that account. So nobody can use it until fiscal year 27 when you're in that date range. Okay, so those accounts are basically out there, or those things are out there. So you might look at an account and say, okay, why does this have a start date or a stop date? Those are automatically done by the SSDT in the software. Okay, so that was a lot to go over, but hopefully giving you some ideas on how to do some of these changes that are coming down the pipe. Okay, so there's a question. So in order to do all account changes, all new revenue and expenditures have to be set up before doing the account change, correct? Yes, that is correct. Yes, they can be loaded. So if you have a whole list of new accounts that you need to add to the system, you can do mass up or mass load and load those accounts and then do your account change. Are they recording the AOS advisory? Are they still saying they do not want to see all expenditures stop posting the? Okay, Don, I'm not quite sure on that question there. That looks like that's an auditor's question. Because basically what you're saying is something about expending more money than you received. Is that what you're asking? Zach's comment. Okay, I didn't see Zach's comment. Let's see, what was Zach's comment here? General funds based on how to manage expenditure. Okay, so did somebody answer Zach's questions?
Yeah,
Okay,
they're sending it
so
to SSDT. Yep.
okay, but I would say that that is going to be add the new fund, add the new accounts, and do transactions to move from old to new, because some of your transactions are within the special costs in just general fund, and you want to move specific things out of the general fund expense to that new 9,000 special cost. So yeah, I would say that that's going to be transactions that need to be moved individually and not through account change. I don't foresee anything by the SST actually being able to do that, because you're picking something that's not a cat 001 with all zeros, is not a specific cash account. So it's like, how does it know on the cash side what monies need to be broken out and put into the new 9,000 special costs? You know what I'm saying? And there's no way of knowing a specific amount needs to be moved over, but we'll wait to see what the SSDT says. So. Okay, so Dawn, the hours, we run back up. So they run back up starting at 11 o'clock at night. They all don't run at the same time. They run in different groups. But just to be safe, we would say don't make an account change anywhere from 11 o'clock to 4 a.m. the next morning. You can do it anywhere from 4 o'clock that afternoon till 10:30. 10 o'clock maybe, to make sure that they get done in time, and process between that time to do your account change. You're very welcome. Okay, do we have any other questions? Okay, then we will post this video out on our YouTube channel as soon as it gets processed. We also have a discussion about documentation, if we're going to put together some documentation out there on our website, or we might just put it in Google or something, but we'll see about the documentation that was used for today's training too. It's just basically a lot of my notes, but we'll see if that can go out. Okay. There's another question, stop date versus an inactive mark. They kind of both work together. If you make an account inactive, nobody can use it, but it happens immediate. A stop date can be used if you want to use it for this fiscal year, but June 30th, you want to stop using it. So you put a stop date in. But they kind of both are the same thing. So you can put a stop date and mark it inactive both. Okay. The other thing with the stop dates and inactive is when you're running reports. I think if you run reports, there's an option to include or exclude inactive accounts, but there's not one to say, I only want to see accounts that I have a stop date on them or don't have a stop date or are stopped at a specific point. So depending on how you want to run your reports, if you want to mark that account inactive right now, then run your reports and don't include inactive accounts, then you can do that. One other thing about the reports and the inactive though is sometimes you've used that account in fiscal year 26 and you shouldn't have. So you've done transactions and you've moved those transactions to the correct account. And so then when you run your reports, that are for all zeros or inactive accounts, that might make your balancing of your reports not agree, depending on if you still have budget amounts in that account. So like if you ran a budget report and say exclude all zeros, it's going to exclude all the zeros that have your expended year to date, things like that would be all zeros. So it's going to be excluded. However, if there's a budget amount in there, it's going to exclude that account. So your original initial budget amount column might not add up. So you want to move that budget amount out of there also if you're doing transactions. Okay. We should not be using, will that stop them from showing up in the invalid count? That is a great question. I'm not positive if they won't show up. I think they will not show up on the invalid accounts if they have stop dates, but I'm not 100% sure. Let me see here. I have an invalid account report. We can try that. Okay, so here's an invalid account. So I've got 001-111-0-524 and 6/30/25. Okay. So let's go to this expenditure account.
Sharon, you aren't sharing your screen.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. Okay. So 0-524. Okay, so I'm going to put a stop date on here because this was invalid 30/20/25. And this was on my invalid account report. So now I'm going to go ahead and run another invalid account validation report. Well, I'm not going to be through here because all of our accounts in this thing are zeros. Won't give us a very good report. Hopefully it doesn't take too long to run. Okay. One, it does not. It's still showing on my invalid account. So even though the stop date is there. Now, I think if we put, if we made it inactive and a stop date, then it would probably be off of the report. But just the date does not remove it. Great question. Okay, expenditure accounts show inactive, but the account validation says active. How do I make these accounts not valid? I just want to test just to make sure if I may put a stop date and make it inactive. Okay, Robin, yes, if you have a lot of accounts, you will get that excessive query. So that just means that there's too much in your grid. You can go to your expense grid or your expenditure account grid and remove some of the columns and see if that helps with the excessive query. If that doesn't, okay, yes, that removed it from the invalid account. So you have to remove it from the invalid account. It has to have a stop date and make it the account invalid. Okay, I'm almost certain that if I just made it invalid, it would work as well. I mean, without an account, a date on there. Okay, any other additional questions? Okay. All right, so again, we'll be posting this as soon as we can get it. If everything works out in the technical end of it to get that video out there, we'll post this as soon as we can. Okay, Felicia, I'll go ahead and can you put that in a ticket as far as the import to the account change import? We'll handle that offline and get you that information. Okay. All right. Everybody have a great day. Stay cool. I think we have some cooler weather coming. Just got to get over the hump of next couple of days. Thank you, everybody.